Hey folks, Fernando doing a video for the Modern Survivalist, and in this case I want to talk about the incident involving Kyle Rittenhouse and how the left is trying to label him as a crazy, fringe, lunatic, a mass shooter of some kind. You're seeing this, the mainstream media, of course, most of it sided with the left, since as we all know, but it is quite shameless, really, how they're trying to ruin this kid, who, some people are calling a hero, a patriot. I don't know. I don't know if he's a patriot. I definitely think that he's a patriotic kid. I think he's a good kid that thought he would be doing some good by protecting his community. And sure, it's easy to poke holes over everything he did. But at 17, to have that commitment, to have that will, for every wise ass that it's just making fun of him, or of course on the left they're just trying to destroy him. But even on the more reasonable people criticizing him for going out there and trying to do something, he at least tried to go out there and do something for his community. You hear the kid when he was talking before the actual shooting. He was there so as to protect the community, the community that law enforcement was supposed to be protecting, while driving around in their armored trucks and letting those rioters destroy the city. Sure, because of orders, absolutely, I completely understand that. But let's be honest, those are cops in armored vehicles driving around while the city burns. This 17-year-old kid took it upon himself to go out there and try to protect his community, his country, from people that want to destroy it. At the end of the day, that's what happened here. I'm not going to be putting the video. You've probably seen it already. If not, look it up. There's some videos that are better than others. If you find some of the more complete videos, you see the entire thing unfolding. You see how Kyle was being chased. And you know what he was doing there? He was trying to protect businesses, infrastructure, buildings. He was trying to protect people's livelihoods and their businesses from these rioters, right? Without hurting anyone as far as possible, but he had his firearm, which he eventually used for self-defense, nothing else than that. So you see quite clearly how he's being directly chased by someone that within camera frame ends up throwing a Molotov bomb at him. And that's when he ends up shooting the attacker in the head. That's the first guy that goes down. Then he's being chased by a bunch of other... The thing is, we allowed Crazy World to get to a point where this is the upside down, in which a guy being chased by criminals is the attacker. In what world does that work that way? He's being chased by a guy that throws a Molotov bomb at him. He shoots that guy in self-defense, and he escapes from that. And as we know, when you try to run away from these animals, they end up catching you eventually, and that's what they did. They tried to kill him with one of the skateboard guys, one of the Antifa type, typical Antifa scumbag, all dressed in black with a skateboard. They're not fooling anyone. That's a lethal weapon. If someone bashes your skull in with a skateboard, you're still very much dead. So they try to kill him with a skateboard, and he shoots a guy in self-defense, and then he shoots another one in the arm with his AR, and the guy... You see the images quite clearly. The guy shot in the arm has a firearm himself. Then he takes fire from some unknown place as he continues walking away. But I don't know how you can make of that anything other than a very clear case of self-defense. He was being attacked by a mob of criminals. We all know what BLM is. We all know what Antifa is. This is all just a communist uprising in the United States. That's what this is. And you guys have to understand this. You cannot allow yourselves to be fooled anymore. This is an uprising from the communist scumbags trying to destroy your country. This kid was out there trying to make a difference. And based on what I've seen, I don't see anything other than a kid trying to do good. He was in favor of Blue Lives Matter. Yeah, seems like a pretty straightforward, good kid. And Sure, again, can you poke holes in going out there? But he was I stick to that. He was trying to do good when everyone else is doing wrong. When from a leadership point of view, you see, of course, the left, the Democrat Party, many even in the Republican Party now siding with the communists and trying to bring down Trump. And then on leadership, honestly, in terms of guys that are supposedly not on that side, you just see a constant failure of stopping this from happening on the streets. So you have the guys torching your cities, and you have guys that are allowing those cities to be torched and just doing nothing. Sure, you have a bunch of explanations. If you get involved, it's just made worse, and you are labeled as a fascist and whatnot, and it's better to, politically let them burn is what a lot of people say. But you know what? That's kind of playing that pity game of allowing your country to get burned to the ground, because that's going to be getting you more votes eventually when people see how much of a scumbag those politicians are. Sure, but you know what? I completely understand when someone wants to stop that from happening. I completely understand when someone says, you know what, I'm not going to be letting my neighborhood, my community, my country be burned down like this. So I would advise you to not do that. I would advise you to not get involved in those kind of things. That's what I've advised people along. That's what I advise you here. Avoid those kind of situations as much as possible. But this is about survival. This is about self-defense. It's about preserving your livelihood and preserving your life and your family as much as possible. If you get involved in the kind of thing Kyle got involved in, your life is pretty much ruined. Not only that, if you're a grown man, not a kid, your family no longer has a father, a husband, all that is lost. And for what? For trying to do good. Well, that's the messy part, because he was trying to do good, and they have to respect that. But my advice as someone that is involved in survival and preparedness for a very long time, I know that's the kind of thing you don't want to get involved in. It's a lose-lose situation in terms of they are being allowed by those above you to burn down that city, and you're not allowed to do anything about that. So when you try to do good, you're caught between those leaders that are allowing the city to burn and the mob that is just doing that. All right, but in terms of what happened, it's a very clear-cut case of self-defense. There's really nothing else than that. I mean, you hear some people, some of the communists talk about how he started attacking protesters. I mean, what world are they living in? He was chased for blocks. That kid run with that gun for blocks, trying to escape his attackers. He had no choice either to allow himself to be beaten to death, his gun taken away from him and being smashed his skull in. They've killed people already. BLM has killed people already. You know that, right? The Antifa crowd, same thing. These communists have been killing people since day one, and they will not stop. So he had either a choice of defending himself or allow himself to be killed. He chose to live, and now he's being caught in this situation. Then it's very interesting to see how the left, they're surprised that he walked towards the cops, and the cops didn't do nothing. They didn't arrest him. Well, they didn't arrest him because that kid was not behaving like what they claim he is. He's not acting like a mass shooter, like a lunatic. He was walking towards those police officers with his hands up and trying to explain what just happened. Those cops had no interest in listening to what Kyle had to say. They just told him to get out of the way. He was walking towards the police, trying to, give himself up to the authorities and explain what was happening. You clearly see him trying to do that several times, and he walks towards the police officers with his hands up, and he puts his rifle back so as to make sure that it's not in the way and there's no confusions as of regards what he's doing with a gun, walking like that. And that's why police officers tell him to get out of the way, because they understand he's not a threat. Now, a real mass shooter, a real criminal would not do that. He would not walk towards the authorities trying to explain how he was attacked. No, that's not what mass shooters have done. You just see countless incidents involving mass shooters. That's not the behavior of a mass shooter. That's why he's not arrested at that time. That's why correctly, law enforcement officers, which are quite good at instinctively telling who's a threat and who's not, see that kid and understand he's not a threat. Just get out of the way, kid. We're working here. Get out of the way. That's what he's being told. They don't realize that that kid was involved in a self-defense shooting just moments ago. But the left sees that as, oh, yes, they're in bed with the white supremacists. No, they just understand that the kid is a good kid and that you are, in fact, these scumbags that are trying to burn down the country, those cities. Right, folks? So, yeah, it's very unfortunate that this is going on, but it's happening. Man, it is happening, and you have to be careful. My advice, and the kind of stuff that I write about, a lot of that is avoiding these kinds of things. So I would not advise you to get involved in something like this. At the same time, it may get to a point where you don't have much of an option. Either you fight for your community or you just allow it to be destroyed. And yeah, I guess that part I do explain and write about quite a bit. I think that at this moment, it's mostly about avoiding these confrontations as much as possible until you really have no other choice and fighting from in your own backyard, literally, kind of like in your own home. And this is happening as well. They're going to the suburbs and attacking people there. They're going to people in their homes, in their communities, and waking them up at 3 a.m. with loudspeakers and trying to distress them and get them to react. It's not going to be getting pretty anytime soon, folks. But I just thought about doing this video, and sure, this is what's happening, unfortunately, and the only thing you can do is be as best prepared as you can. Of course, as I always say in my videos, I recommend my books, which are very much tailor-made for preparing for this kind of thing. I don't talk about starting fires with a couple of sticks. I talk about a lot about dealing with these sort of situations when anarchy, violence takes over your country. Unfortunately, it's what you're seeing right now and what you're going to be seeing in the future for some time. Even with the elections, we talk about this with Matt Bracking a lot. By the way, he's going to be back this weekend, so looking forward to Matt's input on this case specifically. But even if Trump wins somehow, in spite of all those mailed-in votes from dogs, cats, and rabbits, even if he somehow wins, this is not going to be going away. Trump is president right now while all of this is happening. This will just enrage the communists a lot more, and more likely to see more violence in the future. Prepare. I hope you guys have a great day. Subscribe to the channel, share the video with people you think may consider it interesting. See you on our next video. Take care.